Inside a classroom, a young guy suddenly wakes up with an expression on his face like he'd eaten shit, realizing in that moment that he'd went back in time, exactly 25 days before the college entrance exams. At the Xia Kingdom, specifically the Anqing No. 1 high school. Inside the 3rd grade of the 7th class, every student seems to be busy doing their assignment when suddenly, a young man stands up abruptly, screaming like a disfigured banshee. Horrified, he grabs his messed up hair and curses his rotten luck. Seriously, if he must be reincarnated, then at least let it be after he got into college. Why the hell does it has to be back in high school, and before the college entrance exams at that? I mean, who the hell is up there fucking with his plot armor? You see, since ancient times, humanity on planet Bluestar has been plagued by a catastrophe known as the Secret Realm invasion. These secret realms connect to another world, filled with terrifying monsters. Sometimes they take advantage of rifts in the realm to invade the human world. Although these terrifying monsters differ in strength, some are extremely powerful that they can destroy several nations and threaten the entirety of human civilization. To fight back, humanity developed a beast gene system, injecting beast genes to awaken a monster template and unlock genetic talents. Only such warriors can save human civilization. This caused warriors to enjoy much higher status and treatment than ordinary people. The entire Bluestar entered an era where martial strength was everything. Everything else was inferior. Only martial cultivation stands above all. As the system announced that the completion of the World Traversal introduction, he was designated as the body host for traversal. And the system also initiated the process of implanting memories. He grabs his head, still reeling with the reality of being a high school student. His colleagues laughed at his expense, claiming that a loser like him still wants to take the college entrance exam. One of the class beauties, Wang Tongtong, questioned why a loser like he hasn't dropped out of school and become a common worker until his worthless life ends. Annoyed, he just stared at her. It seems that every bullied protagonist story has a lead bitch in it. Anyway, judging from the situation, it's clearly obvious that the original owner of his body didn't have a good reputation in class. Primarily because his parents had an accident in his 2nd year, which made him lose focus on training and studying. His previously decent grades took a nosedive and became a drag on the class average. Meanwhile, Wang Tongtong was pissed off at the way he had been looking in her direction. She reminded the class loser that they are in a martial arts class. So, was he looking for a fight? Hearing this outrageous claim, he was dumbfounded. He was just thinking, not trying to pick a fight. What the hell is wrong with everyone? The original owner of this body didn't study properly, and now he's the unlucky bastard suffering the consequences for his actions. Again, who the fuck is up there that changed his plot armor and made him inherit this humiliating life? Just then, the class teacher informed the students to be ready. They were about to begin the injecting of the genetic modification serum. So in this upcoming event, they need to have some confidence in themselves. Their 3 years of effort in building their physique, their training, and their martial energy had led to this moment. But as for those who had never took this matter seriously before, his words trailed off as he pushed his old glasses and stares at he in annoyance. He, on the other hand, feigns a smile and thinks the situation has to be a joke. Seriously, it wasn't like he was the one slacking off but that poor guy who used to own this body. So why panic? And since he'd inherited this unfortunate guy's role, he will do everything right and clean his freaking mess. A while later, the scene shifted to the gene injection hall, where all the students undergoing the gene injection had gathered for the genetic injection conference. Their endless chatter heavily centered on what ability they will awaken. Some even suggested awakening Tier 3 Mountain Splitter or a Tier 4 Sea Bridge Dragon, or a laughable Tier 1 Butt Beast. Anyway, just then a massive machine opens up, and as cold air engulfed the surroundings, several test tubes were shown inside. These test tubes were the Gene Awakening Serum. They contain the primal genes of all magical beasts ever recorded by human warriors. And after injection, the students would absorb one at random and awaken. Usually, the stronger their physique, the stronger the gene they awaken. The crappy-looking class teacher continues, telling them not to be nervous. Once the serum was injected, they should calmly accept the surge of power. Now, those whose names are called should come up to receive their serum. The class teachers start calling names, and one by one, they injected themselves with the serum. After injecting themselves with the serum, apparently their teacher's advice was horseshit because they suddenly started screaming in pain or pleasure like they were having an orgasm or some shit. He saw this, knew exactly what he was in for, but immediately bit the bullet and injected himself with the serum, expecting to undergo a similar process like the rest. But nothing. With his eyes opened wide, he remained speechless as the class teacher approached him with a skeptical look on his face. You don't seem to have changed much, he questioned. Clueless as to why, he replied that he might have gotten a fake dose. Wang Tongtong mocked and laughed at him as she approached, stating the obvious that he seemed to have not awakened anything at all. She poked his irritated face and continued, commenting that a warrior who hadn't awakened was like a bird without wings. So, isn't he royally doomed? After all, this suits him just fine, right? Now he doesn't have to be a warrior. As Wang Tongtong continued her teasing session, yapping like a chatterbox, Yi found her to be extremely annoying. After all, she was also the one leading the bullying against the original owner of the body. Unexpectedly, this immense emotion suddenly burst out a strange feeling inside him. The system also detects this and informed him that he'd acquired an infinite monster template, displaying his current growth status. It had his name as the host, Grady as his overall physique, and a list of his martial skills, which was the 9th student basic chi technique, the blocking palm, and the iron body technique. Wang Tongtong saw this sudden action and questioned what the loser was doing. If he hadn't awakened, then he should stop pretending already. He even tried to warn her to stay away, but this blockhead bitch never listens. And now it was too late anyway. His body shakes violently, his eyes glowing with an immense power. Then unexpectedly, this immense power burst forth in the form of a raging beast so enormous and powerful that Wang Tongtong, who had been close to him, was trashed across the room like a freaking rag doll. However, she was not the only one, even though she suffered the full force of Yi's awakened power. All the students around had a similar experience. This unexpected display of power immediately garnered the attention of the top awakeners, Miss Lu and Li Xinyuan. The system notified Yi of awakening an A-rank template, the Mad Flame Daimola. The bloodline abilities are the Scorching Breath, the Molten Pulse, and the Spore Absorption. His advanced form is the Flame Lord, also Daimola, but it will unlock when template compatibility reaches 100%. Currently, he was at 3%. As Yi comes to terms with this information, he wondered if this power could be the golden finger the system had gave him. His impression on the students had suddenly undergone a complete 180 the moment they realized the loser of the class might have awakened something monstrous. His aura managed to blow almost everyone away, especially Wang Tongtong, who had awakened a second-tier magic beast, the Flaming Lizard. Wang Tongtong was knocked out cold, drooling all over like an infant. He apologized to everyone, stating that he'd made quite a scene awakening. Well, no shit. Nonetheless, he did warn everyone to step back, but no one listened. Anyway, who would have thought the loser of the class would make most of his classmates bow and acknowledge his monstrous potential? They were practically kissing the floor at this moment. But just then, the PA system announced that all the awakened third-year students must now proceed to the testing building to examine what kind of magical beast gene they have awakened and to test their martial arts level. At the Gene Breakthrough Detection Device, which tests the subject's magical beast gene and martial level, all the third-year students gathered to test their magical beast gene and martial level. As the holographic screen displayed every awakened information the moment they're examined, the current student on display was Li Xinyuan. He awakened a third-tier magical beast bloodline, the Swift Spine Bug. Some students commented on his lucky break. After all, he was just an average student in their class before awakening. But now, he was probably the #1 student with a strong bloodline. Strong bloodlines are really unfair. Another student, Chu Zhou, lived up to his title of being the top student of the grade. Not only was he a level 9 martial apprentice, but he even awakened the top-tier bloodline among tier 3 bloodlines, the Ice Demon Dragon. It seems this time around, the champion of Anqing City will be him. Next was Miss Lu, who was also a level 9 martial apprentice, and had awakened a stage 4 rare bloodline, the Nether Sparrow. A well-deserved ability for the top scorer of the province. If a stage 4 bloodline beast appeared in its true form, then it could destroy most of a city. Warriors would be as weak as ants before these beasts, and only grandmasters can resist them. In that moment, he noticed something peculiar. Everyone's awakened beast templates were all classified as stage 3 or stage 4. So why was his classified as A class? Just then, it was his turn to be examined, but the moment he turned towards the test tube chamber, the crowd of students were staring at him with dreamy eyes, believing he was going to be someone important one day. The girls even wanted to have his children right then and there. He knew this world really revolved around martial power, but seeing it firsthand, and directed at him, he walked into the test tube chamber with an aura of superiority and confidence. The crowd cheered him on like crazed fans. With such an insane aura after awakening, his level must be the highest with probably a huge breakthrough. Li Xinyuan just watched with a serious expression, finally noticing Yi's name. He acknowledged him to be someone to look forward to. Unexpectedly, what happened after was absolutely mind-boggling. Because Yi's data only showed basic information, a stage 3 with an unknown beast bloodline. Seeing this, A brief silence ensues as everyone tried to make sense of what they were witnessing, their surprise and shock evident. But the moment apprehension sank in, the guys laughed at Ihi like the mad joker, while the girls cringe in disgust and embarrassment for ever entertaining the idea of being with such a person. Meanwhile, Ihi calmly walked out of the test tube chamber, expecting this result. Inwardly, he knew. His martial power and beast bloodline are unique and probably immeasurable. His system template also wasn't detected, but it triggered the prompt for the infinite monster template. His template rank might be different from the rest, but this also means as long as he meets the conditions, he can draw monster templates infinitely. With this, Ihi aims to become the king of monsters. So, later that day, the awakening ceremony ended and classes was over, but inside the class teacher's office, the old guy wondered why he suddenly wants a break to study and come back for the college entrance exam. Did he honestly think he would believe that a student such as him will actually study at home? He tells him he really wants to improve. He knows he has fallen too far behind, so he has to go through special training now. If he follows everyone else's pace, then there's no hope for him. Just then, his class teacher tells him he knows this. If he wants to become a warrior, the only way is to go to college. Beijing University was something that was not easy to get into, so he should be preparing a lot. He knows he had awakened his bloodline, but his foundation was too weak. So there was no way he will pass the entrance exams with this strategy. But there was no rush. He should prepare to repeat the year and try again next year if he fails. However, he ignores this. He states that he was desperate to learn. He might not understand, especially since he awakened a powerful bloodline. As long as he can train hard, he will achieve everything he wants. And to tell the truth, he asks his class teacher to look into his eyes. His eyes would not lie to him. Seeing those eyes, the class teacher deems them to be full of sincerity, so he reluctantly agreed. But if he fails, he will be coming back to study under him to repeat the year for next year. A while later, Ihi arrives at the Anqing Warrior Center. Upon entering the center, Ihi, already aware that his parents' house was mortgaged for about 600,000 yen, and with the compensation for their accident over 1 million, he now has enough money to be heading to the main city. But to improve his power now, he has two options. One is to level up as a warrior, but the other way is to increase the contract rate with Tamura's model. And according to the data of the Infinite Monster template, each template starts with only 1 point of compatibility. But Tamura clearly has 3 compatibility points. What Ihi doesn't understand was where did the last 2 points come from? And for that, there was only one answer. The Tamura model absorbed the power of the genetic awakening serum and gained 2 accounting points. This proves that the serum basically related to the genes in this world may be improving its model abilities. Instead of training to death as a warrior, he could be spending money to increase his compatibility. This strategy, if he's being honest, will be much better and suits him perfectly. Anyway, he needed to hurry up and buy some genetic enhancement serum. However, the moment Ihi passes by the identification card checkpoint and entered the building, he experienced the biggest shock of his life. His eyes widened in surprise. In front of him were warriors with various awakened bloodlines, the overwhelming presence of their genes clearly evident. But what was surprising was that everyone in there had already awakened their lineage. After awakening the Mad Flame Tamura, Ihi obtained a unique sensory ability, the magnetic field of life. Since Tamura may be sensing vital signs emitted by creatures through the release of his vital magnetic field, he may be clearly feeling the chi and blood of the warriors burning them, as if it were a furnace inside them. And along with the roars of their beast bloodlines as warriors or monsters, he can no longer suppress the fighting desire within him. After all, the Mad Tamura is the king of beasts in their world, destined to conquer all life on the planet. But unfortunately, he was just a rookie at the moment, so he can only suppress Tamura's fighting bloodline for now. When he gets stronger, he will show the whole world the meaning of being the king of beasts. Suddenly, someone grabbed him by the shoulder from behind and called out to him. This person turns out to be a baddie who advised Ihi to not peek at people so casually like he intends to challenge them. He was a bit startled upon realizing this, so he apologized. She replied that it was fine. After all, it seems Ihi probably just awakened his monster gene, so not being able to control his powers was normal. But what brings him to the warrior's center? She questioned. He calmly replies that he was there to buy genetic medicine. But the place was huge and he can't seem to find his way. Could you help me out? Sure, but why are you already using genetic medicine at this stage? He asked if there was something wrong with that. Not really. She smiled and continued. It's just that gene medicine isn't cheap and can easily cause resistance, making it less effective over time. If you want to maximize the effect, warriors usually wait until their bloodline reaches the bottleneck before using it. He then asked how much one gene potion cost. At Ihi's current stage, he can only use the solid-type beginner potion, and it costs around 400,000 yen. This price tag scared the young king of beasts shitless. It was way too expensive for a broke guy such as himself. Even if he used all his savings, he couldn't afford 5. But he still needed to buy it, so he wanted to know if the lady knew anyone who could get him the potion at a discount. The lady, who happens to be a good person, ends up giving Ihi a business card. It was a recommendation from a veteran warrior so he could get a really good discount if everything goes his way. He thanked her and took his leave. If fate allows it, they would likely meet again. After clearing out his account, he heads to a warrior's weapon shop. And after his insane spending, it was already nightfall when he got home. Inside his apartment, Ihi began his upgrade. He took those injections and was under immense pain. He could feel his bones shuddering and blood boiling as his compatibility increases from 3% to 4%, then to 7%. His overall stats also increased from 8 to 10, then from 10 to 15, which was the armed rank 7. When he was done, he crouched on the floor, completely exhausted. So this is what leveling up feels like, he stated breathlessly. However, with each shot of gene potion, Ihi's physique improved. By the final one, it only increased a little. It seems that as his body strengthens, further base mutations become harder and harder to trigger. Nonetheless, his current development was not bad at all. In just a few minutes, he gained what others work 3 years for. And this was just using his base physical stats. If he activates the Daimola's bloodline power, then maybe he really does have a shot at being the top scorer in the exam. This is just too incredible. If cheat mode can't beat the geniuses, then this cheat is way too weak. Next, it seems he has to depart to the secret realm. For context, the secret realm rifts are ranked from S-class to E-class. The higher the ranks, the stronger the beasts inside. Beasts in S-class realms are completely uncontrollable by humans. If they ever invade the real world, it would be an apocalyptic disaster. Anyhow, as the scene shifted to an E-level secret realm at a third-rate location in Anqing, he realizes that there are much fewer people there than he expected. Maybe it was because the secret realm had been developed for too long. After all, it was an old secret realm, and any treasures it had already been plundered. Only a few weak beasts were left behind for the rookie warriors to train with. Knowing all this, Ihi goes to the checkpoint. He asked the lady there about his book ticket for the E-class secret realm. The lady didn't look away from whatever she was watching on her television, and simply handed Ihi a death waiver and his ticket. Without hesitation, Ihi signs the waiver and heads for the secret realm's rift. As he got close, his excitement grew stronger and stronger. In his eyes, this was the beginning of his rise to become the king of beasts. He rushed forward with joy, leaps in the air, and plunged headfirst inside. Inside, he dramatically did a superhero landing simply because why not? In this dimension, he clearly saw that the dungeon had 3 distinct stars: the Kanglan star, the Anwei star, and the Taijin star. Even though Ihi had seen the appearance of a secret realm in textbooks, it's a whole different ball game to witness it in person. To be exact, it was just simply magnificent. Unexpectedly, as Ihi was admiring the view, a mutant rabbit silently crept up behind him. It was a first-rank beast, the Bladefang rabbit. The moment it got close, it launched a fierce attack from behind. However, he had long noticed the sneaky bastard's presence, and swiftly caught the poor guy in midair by the ears. He gave a creepy smile, amused that this unfortunate beast thought he couldn't sense him. He activated his life magnetic field ability and casually crushed the poor beast's head like it was nothing. So with that kill, he ends up obtaining the core of a Bladefang rabbit. He realizes that its core was of average quality, worth around a few thousand yen. If he earns 1,000 yen within the span of mere minutes after entering this dungeon, then he's pretty efficient. Life is truly boundless for the strong. You see, ordinary people would kill themselves to work all month just to earn 3 or 4 times that amount. Anyway, collecting too many first-rank beast cores is pointless. It would be better to find at least a second-rank beasts. But who would have guessed that just as he thought of this, a second-ranked beast, the demon corpse bug, would present itself just like that? Was this beast begging to be killed, or what? Nonetheless, he would grant this bug its wish. So, inside the E-level secret realm, he unsheathed his short sword and skillfully slashed the lower abdomen of the beast. He had read the monster's encyclopedia, so he knew that comparing the monster's steel-like shell on its back to the soft armor on the abdomen, it was easier to break through the defenses of the corpse demon bug. The beast coiled its worm-like body in a circular form and spun rapidly towards Ihi. Seeing this terrifying attack, he plunged his sword on the ground and activated the technique, Hyper Beam. With an overwhelming aura, he shot the beam like a fire cannon, hitting the beast squarely on the abdomen. However, this wasn't enough to kill it, and in retaliation, it also shot out several spinning discs from its mouth. He was surprised with the attack. Managing to use its mandibles to fire projectiles was something unexpected and also meant the monster was going all out. So, with agile and nimble movements, he skillfully dodged the attack. But his outfit wasn't so lucky. He screamed like a suffocating Bart, questioning the beast if it knows how expensive the outfit was. Anyway, with his current level as a martial artist, he can't do anything to this bug. Without powerful martial techniques as support, even with deep Dantian energy and strong blood vitality, he can barely exert 50% of his strength. And that's mainly because the original owner of the body was such an academic failure. Nonetheless, he has no choice but to cheat. Done with this fight, he activated his Mad Demola, the Emperor Demon's bloodline, empowering his physique from 15 to 21. His arms managed to transform into a beast form, with lethal claws and impregnable skin. As the demon corpse bug launched forward with its wide-open mouth with razor-sharp teeth, he leaped into its mouth. And the moment he was swallowed whole, he starts tearing the beast from the inside. The monster bellowed excessively until he pierced its skin and came out from its lower abdomen. It died immediately after. Now that his overall physique had skyrocketed to level 21, he completely crushed a second-rank corpse demon bug effortlessly. However, after deactivating his transformation, he must still be expelling the excess heat from his body. This will make him feel like a jet engine. On the ground, the short sword he just bought was corroded by the corpse demon bug's venom. A 250,000 yen weapon couldn't even handle a tier 2 monster. What a scam. The quality control was terrible and deserve a bad review. Anyway, was the energy consumption from his first monster hunt too high because he was so freaking hungry? And to make this matter even worse, he didn't bring any food. His stomach growls the moment he smelled something fragrant. He even began to drool too. Staring at the green magic core of the corpse demon bug, he seems to find the aroma tempting. Oh, to hell with it. He opened his mouth wide and swallowed the huge green core in one massive gulp. Within him, the green core dissolves and immediately increased his compatibility from 7 to 7.3%. He was shocked with this increase. He spent hundreds of thousands on a genetic potion and it only increased his compatibility by 1%. However, this single green magic core increased his compatibility by 0.3%. 3 or 4 of these cores are worth the whole potion. Also, a few white magic cores from the Blade Tooth Rabbit should at least increase compatibility by 1%. Cursing, he began to tear up in regret. He had wasted his money on pay-to-win and lost miserably. Whatever, he would turn his frustration into motivation. Because tonight, he will hunt to his heart's content. He placed 2 fingers on his forehead and activated his magnetic life field. This creates a magnetic pulse which detects everything around him within a wide range. After a few hours, it was afternoon the next day, his compatibility had increased to 9. And his overall physique had also increased to 15.8. After reaching 9% compatibility, consuming more white magic cores didn't increase the compatibility anymore. So he just had to sell them for money instead. He had a total of 20 white magic core and 4 green magic core. When the receptionist at the checkpoint saw the number of magic stones presented in front of her, she asks if he was seriously a mere high school student. To be able to collect this many magic cores was just mind-boggling. According to government's regulations, martial artists must submit 1/10 of their loot. For 1 green magic core, he needs to hand in 5 white stones. All in all, he racked up 200,000 Xia Kingdom credits. Meanwhile, the clock was ticking and with only 9 days left until the college entrance exams, the scene shifts to a D-class secret realm. Near the entrance, a team of 6 warriors discuss their mission once they head out. The driver asked the captain if they would be able to complete the Blood Jade Flower bounty mission this time around. The captain of the team, Lin He, a tier 2 martial artist, simply stated that during their last exploration, they already found the general location of the Blood Jade Flower. However, since their fellow team member, Old Chin, was injured by a monster, he won't be able to join them in the secret realm this time around. Hearing this, the young lady among them questioned if the mission was going to be a 5-people job. The guy beside her seconded her question and added that the rules state that at least 6 people were requested to enter a D-class secret realm. So what were they going to do? Captain Lin pointed behind him and told them not to worry. He contacted an agency to introduce them to a new martial artist. Of course, this new person was none other than He. He picks his nose and greets the team, introducing himself as Dadsla, a level 9 martial disciple. Since he was still a student and was not qualified to enter a D-class secret realm, he had to use an illegal agency to create a fake identity to join a team. It cost him 100,000 credits. What a fucking rip-off. The captain then turns towards He and questioned that his Dadsla name feels a bit off. He gave a disdainful look and replied that he had no choice. If he used his original name, then it would violate the copyrights. Captain Lin dropped the matter, stating that Godzilla was just a codename anyway. At Ihi's level 9 martial disciple strength, he really doesn't qualify for a Class D secret realm. So, their team will let him observe and learn, but he shouldn't hold them back. Ihi agreed. He had no problem with this arrangement. After all, clarifying responsibilities before a mission was actually pretty reliable. Far better than screwing him over during the mission. They soon took off and drove into the portal. According to the tracker, the bloody jade flower was in an oasis a little further ahead. It was guarded by a Tier 2 monster with general-level bloodline. He observed his surroundings and noticed something. Just recently, he was at a rainforest, now a desert. It seems that the secret realms were not connected to just one world. In that moment, the driver noticed the horde of earth demon rats from his rearview mirror. He notified the captain, adding that they seemed to have locked on their scent. The guy in the back seat named Hood was ordered by the captain to take care of them. With a murderous glee in his eyes, he replied that he understood. He took out a couple daggers, then casually threw them at the horde of earth demon rats. The moment the daggers pierced the earth demon rats, they exploded. The team casually proceeds forward without any further interference. Mr. Hood nonchalantly stared ahead, inwardly feeling full of himself. He, on the other hand, just stared at the guy. Mr. Hood infused martial energy into his throwing dart, which exploded like a bomb upon impact. Seems this guy is ruthless. Shortly after, the group arrived at their destination. They got out of the car and walked the remaining distance on foot. He, like a true rookie, casually asked why they weren't driving. There was still some distance to the oasis. Captain Lin replied that the monsters in the oasis were highly sensitive, so the sound of an off-road engine would definitely alert them. Anyway, to distribute tasks while walking, Captain Lin tells Xiao Xia to throw the stun grenade later to lure the beast out. Xiao Wu and Hood would set up the traps. Old Lu would provide suppressive fire, and Lin He would handle the front line. Oh, and for Godzilla, he would stay still and watch. Fine by me, he answered, already bored. So, just like that, the strategy was put in play. The stun grenade contains high-level monster pheromones, making some beasts think their territory was being invaded. This will obviously attract them. Almost immediately, a Tier 2 Earth Dragon appears, roaring fiercely like a crazed animal. Seeing this, Captain Lin reminded Ihi to be careful because the monster was heading their way. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a silhouette of a mysterious guy appears at the site where Mr. Hood eliminated the horde of earth demon rats. He casually picked a dagger up and licked the blade with a sadistic glee. Back at the oasis, Captain Lin imbued his sword with martial energy and skillfully decapitated the earth dragon. The moment he landed, Xiao Xia and Xiao Wu rushed to his side, questioning if he was okay. Captain Lin sheathed his sword and replied that he was okay. They should proceed forward as planned. But in that very moment, a massive paw suddenly loomed dangerously over its target, Captain Lin. His teammates warned him to watch out, but it was too late. The dying creature planned on taking the captain along with it. Unexpectedly, he exerted a considerable effort in his legs and leaped high in the air. In the air, he spared no effort, unleashing a terrifying hyper beam at the beast. With his current level and strength, the poor creature stood no chance. If it wasn't dead before, it was super dead now. Everyone was stunned with Ihi's sudden display of martial prowess. After all, he was just a mere martial novice, yet he had the power to shake a Tier 2 beast. Seriously, what an incredible punch. Xiao Xia, Xiao Wu, and even the captain began to fawn over him. He just casually basked in all the attention and simply acted like it wasn't a big deal. Captain Lin then thanked him for saving him. With the death of the Earth Dragon, Old Lu pulled out its soul essence and called out to the captain to take a look. Everyone's attention shifted to the great harvest they've gotten, which, to be honest, looks like a large fruit. Xiao Wu was surprised that the soul essence was worth that much. Of course, the captain stated and added that it could also greatly improve a warrior's template. It was a close call this time around, but he believes they would be able to defeat the dragon and find the blood jade flower. But in a surprising and unexpected turn of events, his lower abdomen was suddenly pierced from behind by a sharp dagger. The shady backstabbing weasel was none other than Mr. Hood. He told the captain that there was no point in thinking of such things now, he was going to die, and soon his entire team will follow. The group was shocked with this betrayal and questioned Mr. Hood what he was doing. Mr. Hood made a massive leap backward the moment the captain swung his fist behind him. He landed beside Huapeng, the bulky guy from earlier. Huapeng simply replied the group that Mr. Hood was doing what he was always meant to do, which was to strike it rich. The team was furious with the sudden appearance of Huapeng, so he questioned Xiao Wu if they know Huapeng personally. Xiao Wu informed Yi that Huapeng robs martial artists of their loot they find in the dungeons. And recently, he had set his eyes on them. Old Lu helps Captain Lin, but was surprised to know that the blade Hood used was poisoned. That damn traitor. But how did Huapeng know about the location of the oasis? Even his teammates only learned the blood jade flower's location after entering the dungeon. Just then, Yi remembered Mr. Hood's explosive daggers. Apparently, Mr. Hood not only imbued them with martial energy but intel on the oasis location as well. Mr. Hood gave a menacing smile and told Yi that he was pretty smart. With the college entrance exams right at the corner, he should have stayed in school instead of walking hand in hand with death. He agrees with him about the college entrance exams. After all, he's got the top scorer's title waiting for him. But about walking hand in hand with death, that's for him to decide. Mr. Hood throws a dagger, claiming he was arrogant and didn't know what was good for him. He caught the dagger in between his two fingers and counters that a bald freak like him having the balls to bark in front of him. Now that's true arrogance. Was he courting death so badly that he had lost his mind? Anyway, the situation was so noisy, so it was time to pick up the trash. And by trash, he means those two. Huapeng just grinned with glee. He finds Yi to be quite interesting. He then orders Mr. Hood to take care of Yi. To be exact, he wants his head. At that command, Mr. Hood grabs numerous daggers and throws them toward Yi within a fraction of a second. Knowing full well of the explosive nature of the daggers, he roared, and the mere shockwave of the roar shattered the explosive daggers. The next moment, Mr. Hood, known as Huda, disappeared from Yi's line of sight and appeared directly above him. The team warned Yi to be careful the moment Huda's martial technique, the mountain splitter, was locked on him. He placed 2 fingers on his forehead, stating that it was the perfect chance to test out his new skill. He shot Huda with a hyper beam that shattered his defenses completely and pierced him in the chest. The group was again surprised to see how effortlessly Yi managed to defeat Huda with just a single move. Was he really a martial novice? He blows the smoke from his finger as Huda's lifeless body falls to the ground with a dull thud. Of course, Huapeng was annoyed and surprised with Yi's gene technique, so he questioned which family he was from. Family? He repeats with a dark look. Well, if you must know, I'm from the Damanra clan. Why? Are you planning to beg for mercy? Brat, even with a gene technique, you can't possibly close this massive martial gap. With a massive bear-like roar, Huapeng activated his Tyrant Terror Black Bear bloodline, his already massive size growing 1,000 times over. As his imposing figure looms over Yi, he activated his Peak Shaker martial technique. He bend lower, and with his hyper beam, aims at Huapeng's legs. The mountain beast of a man roared in pain the moment he was shot at. The moment he closed his hands into one massive fist and slams down on Yi, he was already above him in the air. Huapeng immediately leaps in the air as Yi comments about how second-tier martial artists are really something else. His atomic beam couldn't even penetrate or melt Huapeng's ankle bone. The moment Huapeng leaped in the air, his massive hands appeared on opposite sides of Yi, intending to literally clap him into meat paste. The clap created a terrifying shockwave the moment they connected. But obviously, he dodged and suddenly appeared behind Huapeng, stating that it was his turn. Huapeng's eyes widened the moment Yi activated another technique, the core-fused mountain-crushing fist. His hands grew in size and was imbued with martial energy. With this, numerous fists rained down on Huapeng like a tsunami. Huapeng was done for and could not even dodge a single blow. As the dust settles, he, with steaming fists, stood tall over Huapeng's body. The idiot's body was raided with countless blows. Not even his face was spared. The group stared at the scene with wide eyes, speechless at the sight. As Huapeng's disfigured face came to view, he painfully states that Yi's gene technique emits toxic gas. It was so despicable. A wicked martial artist like him will definitely be punished. He curses Yi with this fate. With an overwhelming aura, he glared at the idiot and presented him with another core-fused mountain-crushing fist. With people cursing him left, right, sideways, and center, their curses will just keep piling up and Huapeng's own will only have to wait in line. So, who the hell was he supposed to be again? The scene shifted and just like that, 9 days had passed, and the college entrance exams was about to begin in full swing. The event was taking place at the Central Sports Stadium of An City. The host of the event welcomed everyone, mainly the students. The year's General Higher Martial Arts School enrollment was about to begin, so he would like to wish everyone good luck in the competition. The college entrance exams adopts a competition system. Candidates will compete in pairs, and the winners will advance to the next round. The exams will last for 3 days with the first 2 mainly centered on additions. The students who advances will take the exams on the 3rd day. Each student will fight 3 matches in the additions, and the students who get promoted successfully will compete all the way until the top scorer of this year's college entrance examination is selected. To each student, the prospects you carry on your back are the future of humanity. So please, show your true potential during this examination for both yourself and humanity. So with that, the host officially announced the beginning of the event. In Arena 1, it was a fight between two male candidates. In Arena 4, the fight was between a male and a female fighter. But as the scene pans to Arena 6, the female candidate was missing an opponent. Apparently, the opposing candidate hadn't arrived yet. The host took a look at the list of contestants and found out that Arena 6 was a duel between Wang Tongtong and Yi He, both from Ant City No. 1 Middle School. But only Wang Tongtong was in the arena. According to the rules, if Yi He still doesn't show up after the competition begins, he will be considered as a forfeit. In the arena, Wang Tongtong stood there, smug and satisfied. She knew the Gene Conference made her lose face, a shame she'll carry for life. She was planning to humiliate Yi He with her flaming lizard, but that pathetic fool was hiding and didn't even have the balls to show up. How disappointing, the audience murmured. How pathetic. He's too scared to even show up for the college entrance exams? He's probably hiding at home, trembling. Someone like him shouldn't even be in high school. He should just go sweep the streets. At that moment, the referee blew his whistle and announced that the time was up. And City's first high school, Yi He. But before he could finish speaking, the crowd suddenly felt a powerful presence approaching from above. They all looked up and were shocked to see something heading towards Arena 6 like a meteor. Wait, is that a person? What kind of immense power could allow someone to fly like that? Just as the audience below were debating, the person suddenly landed in the arena, and the immense force caused the entire platform to shake. When the dust cleared, Wang Tongtong was still confused. But in the next moment, a foot was seconds away from warming her face. Wang Tongtong could not dodge and was immediately kicked off the arena. He watched the annoying bitch knocked out cold for the second time and muttered about his close timing. He almost had to wait and come back next year. With Wang Tongtong out of the arena, unconscious, the host loudly announced Yi He as the winner. Hearing this, Yi He scoffed at how easy it was to defeat his previous bully. The audience was amazed at what they had just witnessed, and immediately began shouting and praising Yi He for his martial prowess. One kick and his opponent was done. Also, the way he entered the arena was so cool. Is this what they call a kick from the heavens? At that moment, the system displayed that Yi He's total physique was at 226, and his compatibility was 20%. This sick fucker couldn't help but feel smug. This was all thanks to Captain Lin, who gave him the blood jade fruit. Although it took some time to improve his physique, he can relax and enjoy what's about to happen. After defeating Wang Tongtong, Yi He continued his winning streak. First, it was against a guy from Ant City's No. 4 Middle School, Long Tao. Then against another from the same middle school. 3 matches, 3 wins. And each one ended with a single kick with no hesitation. The audience went wild, shouting like crazed fans, and even named Yi He as the one-kick Superman. As expected, the host announced Yi He from Ant City's first high school as the winner of 3 matches in a row with just 1 strike. And with that, he had advanced to the 3rd round. In the stands, a crowd gathered around Yi He, asking for his contact information. Some even recommended their own schools, and reporters asked him about his dream university. Upon hearing these questions, Yi He's eyes flashed with a proud yet creepy smile. He confidently replied that he was aiming for Huadu University. Hearing this, the crowd around him suddenly dispersed, deeming him to be too arrogant. He sighed helplessly. They didn't believe in him, and he couldn't blame them. Huadu University was the best martial arts college in Xia Kingdom, one of the top 5 in the world, a holy land for all warriors. Cities like Ant City only allow the top students to enter that sacred place. But that's fine. Martial artists are judged by their strength. He couldn't wait to see the look on their faces once he wins first place. At that moment, the examiners noticed Yi He's performance and approached him, asking for a retest of his martial level. After a quick scan, the examiner was shocked. He exclaimed that half a month ago, Yi He was just a level 3 martial disciple, but now he had reached level 9. Upon further investigation, they found out that Yi He had frequently visited E-Tier's secret realms after leaving school. So they asked him why he ventured into such dangerous places right before the college entrance exams. He casually explained that it was to find himself. His father left him a message before he passed away. If Yi He wants to surpass humanity, then he has to stop being afraid of death and become courageous and strong. So he had been entering secret realms, battling and breaking through his genetic locks. The examiners froze when he heard the mentioning of breaking through genetic locks. He needed to report this right away. As the examiners rushed off, he couldn't help but feel like he had somehow become a subject of intense scrutiny. Inside the waiting room, Ihi took out his phone and was surprised at the amount of live streams being conducted on the streets as interviews for parents and friends of the examinees. Sadly, there was no one who came to cheer for him personally. He was just an orphan that no one cared about. Unbeknownst to him, his class teacher was fiercely cheering for him in the comfort of his home. He stepped onto the arena once again, and this time around, his opponent was Luo Xian from the city's third high. He was a martial disciple level 8 with the bloodline of a rare second-tier monster, and both of his parents were warriors. He looked at Luo Xian with boredom and motioned for him to make the first move. Luo Xian, feeling belittled, couldn't help but feel some anger rising within him. He immediately activated his bloodline and used his martial skill, Dashing Lightning Claw, to accelerate to his top speed. His heart beat like a supercar engine, and as he ran, his body accelerated again and again. His sharp claws aimed at Ihi's throat. Luo Xian's martial skill cut through the air like a bolt of lightning, creating sparks with a sonic boom. His attack could even kill a martial disciple of the 9th level if he made contact. However, he never expected that as his arm came near his opponent's throat, he would effortlessly grab it. He casually stated that Luo Xian's momentum was quite good, but he was far from the collision force of Huapeng. Luo Xian, shocked, scared and sweating bullets, begged for mercy. Without hesitation, Ihi delivered a palm strike to Luo Xian's head, and the immense force knocked Luo Xian out cold right on the spot. He then arrogantly asked for a decent opponent. Or are there really no such contestants? The host quickly announced another victory with one strike, and this time, Ihi defeated the seated player Luo Xian. Dozens of high-speed cameras focused on Ihi, capturing shots from every angle, and the live broadcast was buzzing. Viewers couldn't stop talking, some in awe, commenting that although Luo Xian looked so fierce, he was defeated in the blink of an eye. Ihi's strength was on a whole different level compared to the other candidates. In this martial arts-driven era, Ihi's overwhelming display of power stirred the passion of everyone watching. Like seriously, the women even wanted to have his babies. Su Zhou watched as Luo Xian was carried off the stage by medics, his eyes filled with fierce determination. As expected, he smiled. This guy was the one I've been rooting for. When we meet in the finals, I'll definitely defeat you with an overwhelming power. At the head of the Huadu University admissions office, having watched Ihi's impressive performance through the live broadcast, demanded to have all of his information within half an hour. Just after he finished his match, the second group of the qualifiers was already in full swing. This match was even more heated than his, as both competitors were top-tier beauties with larger followings, making it even more of a spectacle. One of them was Kai Shaoling from N-City's second high, a petite girl with an incredibly sexy figure. She flipped her long golden pigtails, giving Lu Qingzhu a provocative look, and remarked that she hated the robotic expression of Lu's family's young lady. Lu Qingzhu didn't respond. Instead, she simply bowed slightly and greeted her, her face expressionless, as if she didn't take Kai Shaoling's challenge seriously at all. The referee blew the whistle, signaling the start of the match. With the aura of a martial disciple level 9, Kai Shaoling instantly appeared in front of Lu Qingzhu, sweeping a kick towards Lu Qingzhu's neck, threatening to slam her to the ground. Lu Qingzhu still made no move, lightly waving her palms, causing the air around her to thicken, becoming as viscous as a swamp under the influence of her martial technique. When Kai Shaoling's kick met the air in front of Lu Qingzhu, she felt as though her leg, which could tear through military-grade steel, had instead sunk into soft cotton. Under the diminishing effects, even the high-speed cameras could only capture Kai Shaoling's white leg moving in slow motion, visibly decelerating. Kai Shaoling, furious at Lu Qingzhu's immovable expression, intensified her attack. She cloaked her body in martial energy, minimizing air resistance, and blurred her form into a shadow as she circled Lu Qingzhu, waiting for the right moment to strike a palm to Lu Qingzhu's side. But as her palm neared Lu Qingzhu's waist by just 3 inches, it suddenly couldn't get any closer. Realizing she had fallen into a trap, Kai Shaoling tried to retract her hand, but the air in front of her exploded with unimaginable suction, preventing her from pulling back. At that moment, Lu Qingzhu made her first move, extending her slender fingers, which now shimmered with a jade-like light. The warriors watching the livestream had their eyes widen as they recognized the move, the Hunyuan jade finger from the Xianhuang martial technique. To see a student about to take the high school entrance exams mastering the Xianhuang technique was astonishing. Such martial talent didn't need to be proven through exams. This alone could guarantee a direct admission to Huadu University. Standing close to Lu Qingzhu, Kai Shaoling could feel the terrifying energy from the jade finger, realizing that if she didn't pull out her trump card now, it would be her last chance. Without hesitation, she activated her bloodline, Shadow Tiger King. A massive shockwave exploded from her body, shattering the air around her. Lu Qingzhu, however, didn't choose to withstand the blow. She lightly tapped the ground with her foot, her body swiftly sliding a dozen meters to create some distance. The examiners in the stands held their breath, eyes fixed on Kai Shaoling, amazed. A king-level bloodline is hard to control, and the Shadow Tiger King is known for its brutal power. This girl's future is boundless. The awakening of the Shadow Tiger King's bloodline placed a heavy burden on Kai Shaoling's body. She exhaled hot air and struggled to speak to Lu Qingzhu, challenging her to display the Phantom Crow bloodline. Lu Qingzhu, ever the woman of few words, spoke her first line since the battle began. "This is enough." Kai Shaoling, completely enraged, shouted, "Do you think anyone below a warrior can challenge me?" Her body moved like a vicious tiger, her fierce blood energy coiling into a torrent behind her, her palms slashing through the air toward Lu Qingzhu. Facing the brutal strike, Lu Qingzhu softened the blow with grace, her hands moving like she was playing a piano, the invisible threads of her technique gradually reducing Kai Shaoling's force until it disappeared entirely. Kai Shaoling's attack failed, and she immediately drew on her immense blood energy, dispelling the invisible threads around Lu Qingzhu. With her small body in midair, she kicked again. Seeing this, Lu Qingzhu activated the Xianhuang technique once more, the Hunyuan Jade Finger. The jade-colored tip of her finger collided with Kai Shaoling's fierce kick, and the two powerful techniques clashed, shattering the specially made arena beneath their feet. The arena erupted in a cloud of dust. Tens of thousands of spectators watched with bated breath, waiting for the final victor. As the dust cleared, Kai Shaoling was the first to appear. She was covered in dirt, stumbling a few steps before collapsing to the ground from exhaustion. Lu Qingzhu, however, stood like an ethereal fairy, her hair slightly disheveled but otherwise pristine and composed. With just his martial skills, he completely dominated Kai Shaoling, who also had a martial disciple level 9 and a king level bloodline. Lu Qingzhu's powerful display instantly exploded the live broadcast room. Viewers were amazed by Lu Qingzhu's strength. Some even claimed she was the top scorer from its city, while others leaked that Lu Qingzhu had awakened the 4th-tier bloodline of the Phantom Crow, a talent so rare that most warriors would be unable to defeat her. After Lu Qingzhu's battle, the rest of the matches, though still exciting, seemed dull in comparison. After several rounds of elimination, the final 8 were decided. From N-City First High, it was Yi He, Lu Qingzhu, and Chu Zhou, 2 from N-City Second High, and 3 from N-City Qingfeng Private High. The finals of the top 8 were about to begin, and Yi He stepped up first to draw lots. He drew in Lot A, and as a tall, muscular giant glanced at him, he revealed his own draw, which was also from Lot A. It seems like we're set to face off. His name was Shen Guan from Qingfeng Private High. He simply nodded and introduced himself. Shen Guan informed Yi He that they were the second match, so they should watch the first match together. He looked simple and straightforward, with hands as big as fans, pointing toward the big screen above the arena. The first match was Luo Shi from Qingfeng Private High versus Chu Zhou from N-City First High. Shen Guan casually started chatting with Yi He, stating that Luo was incredibly talented, and a repeat student who was specifically aiming for Huadi University this year. He had great mastery over his bloodline awakening, but still stood no chance against Chu Zhou. Chu Zhou, he's from your school, and city's First High, right? So you must know him. At that moment, the host announced the first winner of the top 8 qualifiers, Chu Zhou from N-City First High. The principal of Qingfeng Private High heard the news and cursed angrily. "Damn, we lost right at the start." At this point, he asked calmly, "How does Luo Shi compare to him?" Shen Guan smiled and replied that he was a martial arts president at Qingfeng Private High's senior year level. Honestly, in terms of combat, his 2 teammates combined couldn't even match him. Then, he suddenly turned his gaze toward Yi He and stated calmly that if he's being honest, he thinks Yi He will be his biggest rival in this exam. Shen Guan had always had an extremely sensitive sense, and he feels that Yi He is like a dormant volcano with a beast hidden inside him. He points to the arena and motioned for them to go on stage. It was their turn. So with that, Yi He and Shen Guan face off in the arena. The host announced the second match of the top 8 qualifiers, Shen Guan from Qingfeng Private High and Yi He from N-City First High. As the competition for the top 8 to 4 in N-City's college entrance exams enters its peak, the fist of Shen Guan collided with Yi He's fist in an explosive impact, sending debris flying, and the solid platform under their feet exploded, forming a huge deep pit. With a reverberating boom, the sound pierced the audience's eardrums as a massive shockwave blinded their direct line of sight. Shinguan sneered excitedly the moment he managed to counter his attack with strength comparable to his own, or maybe even higher. And although he was having a nosebleed, there was no anger on his face, but ecstasy. He'd finally found an opponent who could compete with him in strength, and this truly excited the shit out of him. He also figured out that his nosebleed must be an ability of Ihi's bloodline. It was truly mysterious to be able to directly target an opponent's cells for destruction. But no matter, he knows how to deal with this trivial challenge. He stared at Shinguan with a calculative look. Shinguan managed to use his martial energy to create a barrier around his body, shielding himself from Ihi's nuclear radiation. His eyes glowed in delight as Shinguan commended his martial art. It was truly amazing. He was really a monster not to be trifled with. So in this case, he will also show him his martial arts which had been passed down from generation to generation in his Shin family. Shinguan activated his family's martial techniques, the Shape Wolf Fist, and followed it up with the Deer Peak. With swiftness and lethality like the venomous snake, and a defense-piercing effect comparable to the antlers of a stag, Shinguan's double fist moved as fast as lightning, rendering Ihi immobilized and unable to dodge. The double fist shattered Ihi's defenses and hit him squarely in the lower abdomen. Ihi was pushed back significantly as he clutched his lower abdomen and spat a mouthful of fresh blood. Ihi, previously known as the One-Kick Superman, was dealt with a powerful hit for the first time. Anyway, before he could allow himself a brief moment of respite, Shinguan was upon him with another powerful technique, the Bear Crash. You see, Shinguan's attacks are not simply physical attacks, but he had integrated his martial energy into his body, causing double the damage. And it doesn't help that all Ihi's previous opponents were all weak as shit. They had no experience fighting against a powerful adversary, and apparently so does he. Ihi raised his arms to block the attack, but was surprised when Shinguan's arms shockingly extended and became flexible, wrapping around him and pulling him in a tight embrace. He was half right about Shinguan's martial art. You see, not only can he inject martial energy into his body, but can also lock Ihi's martial energy, rendering him incapable of using martial arts for a limited duration. Shinguan then uses the A-Pearl technique to trash Ihi in the air across the arena. And while Ihi was in the air, Shinguan switched to the Tiger Pounce technique and gave Ihi a solid uppercut, then followed it up with the Eagle Dive the moment his opponent was heading for a crush landing in the arena. Seems this guy is literally a walking zoo. Anyway, Shinguan loudly declared his intention to win this match overwhelmingly, and under no circumstance would Ihi be able to win against him. He dives headfirst into Ihi, and shatters the arena in a bright and devastating crash as debris flew everywhere. Shinguan crossed his arms and laughed with satisfaction, believing he had won. With this overwhelming and relentless barrage of attacks, Shinguan believes he had no chance to fight back. He's definitely got the match in the bag. The medical staff outside the venue even readied themselves to move onto the arena, because the Shape Wolf Fist combination techniques the champion of Qingfeng Private High had just used would have killed even an ordinary martial artist. As the dust gradually settles, the host, clearly a dimwit and just an entertainer, was in the process of declaring Shinguan as the winner when suddenly, the supposed winner in question felt a terrifying presence behind him. What the hell is that? Such an enormous aura from a martial disciple. Shinguan turned to see the biggest shock of his life, as a massive paw, skinned with impregnable scales and lethally sharpened claws, stepped out from the dust. He words cut through the noise, praising Shinguan for his strength. But he was unfortunate to be matched against him. If it's any consolation, Shinguan is the first person to witness his current true form, his savage trace Demora bloodline awakening. Sweating bullets, Shinguan was petrified to see Ihi's beast embodiment. And apparently, if a high school student can display the magical embodiment of their magical beast, they can also enter Hadu University without taking an entrance exam. The host announced that he didn't expect that in the small city of Anqing, apart from Lu Qingzhu, a martial arts genius, there was also a bloodline genius. To think that Ihi's bloodline awakening was at such an overwhelming level was truly terrifying. For context, each examiner had been equipped with a monitoring headphone to monitor candidates and a range of factors inside and outside the examination room and arena. However, each examiner, especially the white-beard old guy, saw Ihi's nuclear radiation value and his eyes bulge out like they were being pulled out from their sockets. As anyone might have guessed, Ihi nuclear radiation was off the charts, sitting at 9999999. Seeing this level of nuclear radiation, the examiners were left with no choice but to immediately wrap the arena with martial energy to prevent nuclear leakage. And amidst the crowded audience, Ihi's bloodline was the center of discussion. They find it to be cool and fascinating, but no one knows what the bloodline of his magical awakened beast. What's even more shocking to them was that there was no record of his awakened bloodline in N's #1 middle school. Seriously, how could such a powerful monster be unknown? Anyway, surprising enough, he heard all these discussions due to his heightened senses and was not surprised. After all, it seems that there was no creature like Demora on planet Bluestar, so it's of no wonder that no one had heard of it. Anyhow, back to Xinguan, he was currently having a nosebleed again. So it seems that his martial energy, acting as a shield, was no longer sufficient to block Yihee's nuclear energy. With this in mind, Xinguan intended to end the fight since he couldn't drag it out for long. He also activated his bloodline awakening, the Golden Star Ape Demon, which encased his body with martial energy and increased his physique and overall stats. He even grew in size. He activated his Formwill Fist technique, the Snake Strike, and went on the offensive. Seeing this, he countered the attack with a strike of his own, which was a terrifying and definitely a powerful offensive attack, the Mountain Arresting Fist. But from an objective point of view, it seems like an upgrade version of Hyper Beam. Anyway, Xinguan's entire left arm was disabled, but if he hadn't released the force of the attack in time, his entire arm would have been completely shattered beyond recovery. Xinguan realized he was making such a big fuss before when he never went all out, but now that he knows he's being slapped in the face. And speaking of Yihee, this fucker was fully immersed in the fight that he'd foregone any reservation he had. He told a dominated Xinguan that he was outstanding. But unfortunately, this is as far as he can go. This current outcome cannot be changed. Seeing the activation of Xinguan's bloodline awakened, the host announced in delight that in the second match of the 8-4 of this year's college entrance exams, the Third Order King bloodline had appeared, and his opponent on the other side was actually an unknown powerful bloodline of a magical beast, which was obviously rare to see. Xinguan took on a stance and calmed himself. He needed to assess his current predicament with a level head. After Yihee's bloodline awakened, his strength is simply unfathomable, so a direct confrontation was not advisable, since he is no longer able to suppress his martial energy. Now he can only retreat in order to advance when an opening presents itself. On the other hand, he made a mad dash towards the big guy, informing him not to be distracted. But the moment Yihee got close to Xinguan, the big guy made a tactical retreat and at the same time, activated his Formwill Fist, the Snake Strike. His arm became flexible and moved like a snake, wrapping around Yihee's left hand. With his left hand temporarily restrained, Yihee, surprised and distracted for a fraction of a second, saw Xinguan use this narrow opening to swiftly move behind him. Xinguan informed Yihee that he's unable to budge him as he expected. However, his aim was to reposition behind him all along. And now that he had, Xinguan leaped high in the air and suddenly stumped down on Yihee with a force comparable to the weight of 1,000 tons. Although the pressure would have immobilized any other candidate, Yihee swiftly dodged the bone-crushing stump with ease. Again, Xinguan made another tactical retreat with two massive leaps backwards the moment his attack failed. Believing he'd put enough distance between himself and Yihee, Xinguan looked up at his opponent and was surprised to see that Yihee was casually watching him the whole time with his arm folded. Releasing his terrifying aura, Yihee announced that it was his turn to attack. The moment he raised his right foot, he was upon Xinguan with another mountain arresting fist. Xinguan surprisingly got on his knees the moment Yihee was about to strike, and admitted defeat. He respectfully surrendered, leaving Yihee speechless. He was shocked with this outcome. He was all fired up, ready for his turn, but Xinguan was surrendering now. What is he going to do now that he's all riled up? Damn, this is so uncomfortable. Sighing heavily, he lets out a fiery breath and stated that holding back his energy really makes him so freaking uncomfortable. Nonetheless, according to the rules, once one party surrenders, the other party has no right to attack. The host declared Yihee as the winner, and the crowd cheered excitedly like crazed fans, claiming he was awesome and cool. In the comments section on almost all media platforms, Yihee and Xinguan's match was the trending topic of discussion. Xinguan was being humiliated as fans comparing his demeanor before the match and after the match. At the same time, Yihee's popularity and fanbase increased exponentially. A chat group was even established by his fans with full video of his matches in the college entrance exams. His fans had unanimously declared their big brother Yi as the top scorer of this year's college entrance exams. And not even Chu Zhou or Lu Qingzhu would be a match for him. At this moment, the principal of Qingfeng Private High was trembling all over with pent-up anger. After all, he'd placed all his hopes on Xinguan the moment Luosher lost. So, the moment Xinguan showed his face, he spared no time expressing his displeasure. How can Xinguan admit defeat? Did he know how much money they've spent on training him? Such an ungrateful bastard. If he doesn't pay off the debt, he shouldn't even think about going to college. Xinguan calmly approached the principal and placed his injured hand on his shoulder. When the principal asked what Xinguan was doing, he simply replied that he couldn't take Yihee's punch, so he admitted defeat in order not to hurt his already injured body. If he hadn't done that, was the principal going to take that punch for him? And as for the kindness Qingfeng Private High had shown him, he will slowly repay it in the future. But the principal should please refrain from threatening a warrior who was significantly stronger than him. The subtle threat shut the fat old bastard up real quick. Sweating bullets and trembling from fear, he stated that Xinguan had a point. Anyway, after a fierce competition, the top 4 of the year's college entrance exams was decided. They were Yihee, Lu Qingzhu, Chuzhou, and some nobody no one cared about. Meanwhile, the principal of City's No. 1 middle school was in cloud 9, fanning himself with an expression of a creepy old fucker. He admits old Lu had worked hard in the school for so many years, so it was time he got promoted. The draw for the semifinals took place, and Yihee drew first slot again. Unexpectedly, Lu Qingzhu also drew the other first slot as well, meaning she was matched up against Yihee, while Chuzhou was matched up against the nobody. The first match of the college entrance exams semifinals was an internal battle for City's No. 1 middle school, deemed as the strongest battle in the history of City's college entrance exams. The most anticipated showdown since the exam started. The Goddess Lu versus the supposed one-punch Superman. Some fans believe that the Goddess Lu has a better chance of winning, because apparently, the intel revealed so far was that she had mastered 2 mysterious royal martial arts. So, just by having them, she crushed Kai Shaoling, who had a 3rd-level king bloodline and the awakening of her 4th-level Netherbird bloodline which had not been revealed yet. Meanwhile, Xinguan also had a 3rd-order king bloodline, and Yihee was forced to awaken his bloodline by Xinguan. Although Yihee's bloodline seemed to be very powerful, it is estimated that he also has a 4th-level bloodline. However, he cannot compare with their goddess, who also had a 4th-level bloodline and superb martial arts background. A while later, the awaited time finally arrived. The arena was set, and the crowd at the venue erupted in excitement. He and Lu Qingzhu stepped on the arena, and the referee spared no time starting the match. The moment the match officially began, a cloud of dust and steam cast around Yihee, encasing him completely. This briefly covered the entire arena, blocking Lu Qingzhu's direct line of sight. But the moment she stared up ahead, she was surprised to see a silhouette of a terrifying presence encased by the dusty smoke and steam. Steeling herself, she hopes Yihee is strong enough. The audience, clearly obstructed by the thick steam covering almost the entire arena, wondered what was going on. They couldn't see Yihee, and could barely make out the silhouette of Lu Qingzhu. So technically speaking, in that current moment, they couldn't see anything and could only rely on the host to help grasp the situation of the battle. Anyway, the host kept the engagement high and anticipation palpable, questioning how Lu Qingzhu, the talented young miss from the Lu family, would deal with Yihee, the dark horse in this year's college entrance exams. With this amount of steam, could it be that the dark horse Yihee had awakened his bloodline again? They can only wait and see. But apparently, it turns out that Yihee had only directly entered the state of blood awakening to burn out this amount of steam. And the reason for this was to hinder Lu Qingzhu's direct line of sight, and by just a little more time to assess his battle strategy more in depth. And besides, he knew Lu Qingzhu wouldn't make the first move anyway, so this works in his favor. He had studied the battle video between Lu Qingzhu and Kai Shaoling, and had formulated a battle strategy based on it. He was obviously aware that Lu Qingzhu's martial arts skills were far superior to his. With her magical martial arts skills, no matter how strong his power was, he can't hurt her. She was the kind of martial arts genius that had a very high combat IQ. So the longer the battle lasts, the more disadvantageous it will be for him. Seems Yihee has to go all out right from the start. Activating his mountain arresting fist, a sonic boom occurred on the spot as Yihee made a mad dash forward, and was upon Lu Qingzhu with a massive glowing fist. The attack was so obvious that Lu Qingzhu, ever calm and vigilant, evenly spread her hands and stirred the airflow in front of her, as if trying to absorb the fist that was coming at her. She believed that since Yihee was taking the initiative to make the first move to attack, then she will use her martial arts to defend and counterattack. However, in an unexpected turn of events, Yihee's mountain arresting fist never came. Rather, he skillfully twisted his hips together with his waist the moment he deactivated the skill and landed abruptly, closing the distance between himself and Lu Qingzhu. Then, he used his martial energy to create Demora's thick tail behind him and swung it flexibly like a steel whip, bursting the air and striking Lu Qingzhu's lower body from the side. What the hell? He actually cheated me. In all her years fighting since she was a child, Lu Qingzhu had never encountered an opponent who had clearly committed to using a fist to strike, but changes abruptly and ended up using a steel whip. You see, when masters fight, changes often occur within a few critical seconds. Now, Lu Qingzhu's rhythm was disrupted, so she backflipped a couple times to put some distance between herself and Yi. However, Yi was not going to waste such a good opportunity when his opponent had clearly lost her rhythm. Relying on his strong physique to chase and attack fiercely and firmly to gain the upper hand, he was suddenly upon Lu Qingzhu the moment she tried to balance herself. Meanwhile, in the live broadcast, netizens watched Lu Qingzhu being deceived by the cunning Yi and had immediately fallen into a disadvantage. Some began to scold Yi for being unethical, but there were others that still supported Yi's actions. After all, when warriors fight on a battlefield, all is fair war. Anyway, Yi's pursuit was too fierce and relentless, leaving no chance for Lu Qingzhu to escape at all. An endless barrage of skill and attack rained down on Lu Qingzhu like a meteor shower. At some point, Lu Qingzhu was able to use her martial energy to shake off Yi slightly, briefly escaping her opponent's grasp. Or so she thought, because Yi transformed his right hand into a beast form with lethal claws. And it seems Lu Qingzhu wasn't getting away that easily. Suddenly, the dark, impregnable claws of Yi was directly imbued with martial energy as it tore through the air. Fortunately for Lu Qingzhu, she was able to sense this. She skillfully flipped back horizontally in the air just in time to avoid being swept by the projected claws imbued with martial energy. They even exploded behind her the moment she gracefully landed. And of course, her dear classmate was upon her again, giving her no room of respite. The two were right back where they started. He on offensive, releasing an endless barrage of attacks, and Lu Qingzhu on the defensive, blocking one wave of attack after another. He roared, and his fists swung out like afterimages, constantly compressing Lu Qingzhu's escape space. At some point, she wondered why he wasn't even the least bit tired from these numerous high-intensity attacks. Seriously, it seems her opponent had a great physical strength and stamina. You see, Lu Qingzhu had mastered two mysterious royal martial arts, one of which was the defensive Lu family secret art, the floating shadow, and the other was the Hunyuan jade finger, which was more offensive. If she could use either of these techniques, she would be able to escape from Yi's onslaught. But it was as if Yi was aware of this and wasn't even giving her any chance to do so at all. And from the looks of things, she won't be able to hold on for much longer before she falls off the arena, thereby losing by eviction. Lu Qingzhu had a cool and pretty face on the surface, but inwardly, she was already sweating from anxiety. Also, forced into a corner, she was left with no choice but to use her trump card. He immediately sensed a sudden shift as Lu Qingzhu activated her bloodline awakening, the Nether Bird. At that very moment, Yi, who was about to punch Lu Qingzhu, quickly retracted his fist and retreated. The reason was the dark purple sparks that came out of Lu Qingzhu's body. With a loud and sharp cry of a bird, he saw Lu Qingzhu soaring into the sky, and the Demora's blood flowing in his body began to boil, as if he felt the provocation of another creature at a very high level of life. Plump dark purple wings had grew on Lu Qingzhu's back, and under the light, the wings sparkled with colorful light. The dark purple wings did not need to flap because the wind element automatically lifted Lu Qingzhu into the air. Her amethyst-like pupils stared directly below at the dark blue demon on the arena, and the air suddenly seemed to be sparking with the fighting spirit of the two. The host loudly and enthusiastically announced that although Lu Qingzhu was still far from mastering the true form of her bloodline, she was able to develop the most important organ of her bloodline, the wings of the Nether Bird. For the first time, the Nether Bird can be seen on full display by none other than our genius beauty Lu Qingzhu. Subsequently, the live broadcast platform lit up at this moment as comment kept pouring in like a tidal wave. After her bloodline awakened, Lu Qingzhu stretched out her slender jade finger and pointed at Yi as her fingertips began to turn a transparent jade color. In a cold tone, Lu Qingzhu declared for Yi to be careful, because she can't control her strength in this awakened form. Really? Yi replied excitedly from below. I'm glad you said that because up until now, I have only exerted about 50% of my strength. So I guess I can finally go all out. Don't disappoint me. Accompanied by a strong wind that swept across the entire arena, Lu Qingzhu was behind Yi in an instant like a bolt of lightning. He even smelled a faint and beautiful fragrance before he even registered Lu Qingzhu's presence behind him. Lu Qingzhu activated her mysterious royal martial art, the Hunyuan jade finger. He immediately turned and activated his atomic blast fist. A crystal blue light shone on his fist, and this was the skill Yi used to combine Demora's atomic reaction ability with martial arts. The elegant jade fingertips collided with the ferocious blue magic fist, and a massive energy reaction occurred where the two touched. Then, following a huge explosion of light and heat, the audience were blinded by the bright impact and the strong gush of wind. In the arena, the two, on the other hand, were also blown away by the turbulent airflow at the same time. Lu Qingzhu's dark purple wings flapped, and the wind elements automatically gathered together, offsetting the impact of being blown away by the airflow. Lu Qingzhu used this force to break through the smoke and dust, and was about to head straight for Yi when she suddenly felt a fatal threat. Shocked and surprised, her pupils suddenly shrank, because on opposite end of the arena, the protruding vertebrae on Yi's back lit up one by one. Every time a vertebra lit up, it meant that a horrible atomic reaction was beginning to occur, until all the vertebrae on Yi's back were flashing blue light. He opened his mouth, and a blue atomic light emitting a breath of destruction was brewing in his throat. This was Demora's atomic breath.